I'm gonna be completely honest. I definitely think you're one of the major talents, okay, out and on the indies circuit that's ready to break
All
out.
right.
No. I'm being serious. I love watching your matches. You've got great attitude, whether you're
Thank you.
jumping off a ladder or super kicking a girl or whatever you got to do, you know.
Oh no.
You get the
I do it
job
far
done.
more often than maybe I want to or have to, but I sometimes I gotta get it done.
Hey guys, welcome back to another interview here on Toned In Entertainment. Today on the podcast, and joining me for the second time on the channel is Jarett Diaz. Jarett, how are you doing, my friend?
Tony, I love the enthusiasm, by the way, in that intro. Fantastic. I'm doing great. I'm in a friend's apartment in Manhattan because I could not make it home before this, but I wanted to make sure that I had the time and the space to have a chat for Toned In. Thank you for having me back. I remember having a pleasant conversation with you last time at Ignite. I want to say 2 or so years ago, maybe a little more.
Just
So I'm
over
looking
two.
forward to talking to you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
my
over
memory's
two.
pretty good now. Come on.
Yeah, it
What was
was
it,
early.
Vero Beach at the brewery? Yeah.
Absolutely. One of my favorite venues. It's a shame that Ignite, has folded its doors, but so many great memories, including, I think you only made one appearance there. If I can recall, you were down at one Ignite show.
Twice.
Twice. Okay.
Twice. Three times, maybe. Definitely at least twice. I know I had a singles match with Aaron Nova, which is where we met.
Correct.
Previously, I was in a scramble match. I want to say just the one other time. I was in a scramble match against Skye and Beast and like four other people.
Okay. So you got it on with Beastly
Yeah,
one of
yeah,
those
yeah,
times
yeah,
at the
yeah.
brewery then.
Beastly, yes. Yes.
Okay. One of
Hairy
my
man.
favorite people.
Very hairy
Yes.
man.
I've been hugged and kissed on the cheek and everything by that man.
Good
Yes.
dude. A little too hairy for my liking, but good dude.
Now, since that was early 2021, and I'm actually getting to see your face because we also did the interview with masks on.
That's right.
I can't even
That's
go back
right.
and
How do you,
watch the.
what do you think? What do you
Oh,
think?
dude, you're a stud. You're a stud. What can I say?
Oh man, you flatter, you flatter.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's so hard. I actually went back and rewatched that interview this week just to kind of freshen up to be like, what questions did I
Yeah,
ask you the first time? And I'm like, man,
of course.
I can't watch those interviews anymore with masks on. It like it feels so long
It
ago,
was a
right?
strange time. It was a strange time. I also remember that that was the day before because I had come into Florida to do Ignite, and then the next day was going to be Punk Pro, and the show had gotten canceled due to health complications with various talents. So like, such a different time, such a wild time, especially being in New York and traveling to Florida just to wrestle because this place was shut down. Um, Complicated to make it work, but we were able to do it, and I'm glad we got the interview done. I'm sorry you couldn't watch it back as well as you would have liked to, but we're gonna have a better one right now. It's gonna be great.
Now, we talked about weird times, right, in New York City and Florida and everything. This is June 14th, 2023. You said you're in Manhattan right now. There was that
Yes.
crazy fire fog going on like
Oh my
last
god.
week. Is it
Yeah.
still going on now?
No, the air quality has returned to its normal level of pollution, which is not great because it's still Manhattan, but it is normal again. I remember a few days ago when it was orange and smog and strange and scary, reminding me of like I Am Legend or some other sort of like a post-apocalyptic world or movie, and it was gnarly, and you could smell it in the air, the smoke and the debris. You could feel it in your like. I had friends who were sick for a couple days afterwards because they had to be outside or whatever. Like air quality was no good, and it didn't even matter if they were wearing a mask or not because it wasn't a matter of disease or like what do you call it?
The particles or
Man, we spent
whatever.
3 years. Yeah, particles. We spent 2 years in a pandemic because of things like that. And I can't remember the name of it. Yeah, because it was debris throughout the air, so it wasn't anything direct. It was just throughout our breathing air. So like that was tough, but it was like a couple days. So luckily, our normal wind patterns return, and the sky seems to be as normal as New York can be.
Yeah, I was just actually in Manhattan Memorial Weekend.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah.
very pleasant, very nice. And then I think I was just got out of there just in time before like the end of the world took over.
Right on time.
But
Yep.
I'm glad you guys are clear and good back. My
Yeah,
wife and I were
everything's
actually
pretty
just
normal
talking
now.
about that before we got on. We're like, when how New York City? Like we haven't heard nothing about it
Weird.
since, right?
Well,
Right.
that's the thing is nobody was talking about us. Everybody was just looking at the sky. It's crazy because when you see obviously there's levels of degree of like worry nationally, but when you see something happen bad, say in Texas, it's like, oh, pray for Texas, pray for Houston, pray for whatever. New York didn't get none of that love. We didn't get none of those prayers, thoughts and prayers. No, people don't like us nationally. So like it was like, yo, New York's in the sky, there's clouds in the sky and smoke and shit in New York. Wow, that's crazy. And that's it. End of thought. But we're okay.
Okay.
Everyone else who didn't care about us,
Right. They're like,
you
well,
cared. I could tell you cared,
I
but
do,
not
I
everybody
do.
else.
It's like, oh, it may get down to the Carolinas, it may get
Yeah,
here,
yeah, yeah,
but New
yeah.
York,
But as long as it stays up in New York, they'll be fine. There's a lot of them up there.
they've had Ghostbusters up there. They have had every
Yeah,
tragedy,
every alien
everything.
movie happens to us anyway. We'll be fine.
It's just another day
We're
in New
tough.
York
We're
City,
tough up here. We're tough
right?
up here.
Now we talked about Ignite, and when you were going through, you were trying to remember like if you had been down there once or twice. With how many matches you're obviously wrestled over your career, is it ever difficult? Like, do people ever come up to you and go like, "Hey, remember that match you wrestled at X and X?" And you have to like think about it and
I
like,
will say, I will say that I think about all of them. I don't think I've ever had a situation where it's like, yo, you remember this match? And I'm like, no, I don't even remember wrestling that guy ever. I would say that I have the memory of the matches, but it takes a little time. And so I'm really glad that when I was first starting in this, people that were talking to me about how long they've been wrestling or whatever, like, oh, I wish I did this, I wish I did that. One of them was, I wish I wrote down all the matches that I have. So I took it upon myself from match number one to now, 4.5 years in, I've written down every single match that I've had, who I wrestled against, what the company was for, where was it, how far I traveled to get there, and what I got paid, and the date, of course, and the location. And I made sure to do that because I don't care if I wrestle for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 30 years. I want there to be some record of it that I can have. So instead of having to go seek this information out, whether it be on YouTube or with fans or whatever, I want to be able to have my own records because Cage Match does a good job, but they don't have everything. I have everything that I've done, whether it even be a match or like when I was called in for extra work but didn't do anything, or when I went to the New Japan LA dojo and worked as a camp, as a camper there with Shibata. Like I wrestle, I write all of these things down because sometimes there just isn't going to be record. Or sometimes you lose that record. But if I can keep these books to the best of my ability, then I will have everything.
I like that. I think it's our responsibilities to make sure that we keep our stuff because all it takes is one hacker to take down a site or something like that, and all that stuff's gone in a second, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the information age when information gets lost and changed like that. So I tell these younger wrestlers too that I come across like, yo, you should write your shit down when you can because you're gonna want to remember that.
Now,
And it helps me remember like what was happening in my life around that time too, like who I traveled with to that show, who I was hanging out with, maybe who I was dating at the time, whatever it may be. It's like it's a little archive of your life by way of wrestling.
okay. Now, since those 2 years, my man, some of those pictures that you're posting up, you've gotten yourself into phenomenal shape, literally. Like,
Thank you.
what's the secret to your success of just
You know what, man? I'm really lucky. I'm really lucky is not the right word. I'm very fortunate that my life is built in a way that my time is mine. I've had 9 to 5s. I worked with WWE for a little while as an editor with NXT UK, and that was a straight every day in the office type job. But like for a lot of the time over the last couple of years, my time has been mine. I've been able to pay my bills, pay my student loans, and whatever else other responsibilities, while able to make sure I'm training as often as I can, as hard as I can, and I'm eating well, and that I get a decent amount of sleep. I don't sleep a ton, but I sleep enough. Um, all of the things that it takes to get into what I feel like is the best shape I've ever been in. I feel the best I've ever felt. I played 5 games of pickup basketball yesterday, and my lungs were fine. And that's not even normal for me because I'm not a basketball player. I can get winded playing basketball, but I was good just because the cardio training has been more intense for me. Like I've just taken it seriously. And as I get older, I realize that I'm not young in this necessarily anymore. I've been doing this for 4 years, which doesn't feel like a long time, but I've been to places and I've wrestled on a couple occasions at a level that some people never get to be at. So I feel that it's my responsibility, my obligation to myself and to wrestling itself to step my game up, to level up and continue to get better, continue to improve. I was just telling somebody, like, it's not going to just happen and nobody's going to do it for you. You have to take the initiative and do it yourself. So getting better, and that includes physically looking better.
Now, speaking of major promotions, as far as I can tell, you've appeared on 3 episodes of AEW Dark, I believe, 3, maybe 4,
Correct.
since we've last talked.
4.
4, it was
Yes. 4. I wrestled the Guns before they became the champions. And then I wrestled George Joel in a singles. And then the Rapture and I took on the Wingmen. It was Nemeth Avalon and Cesar Bononi. And then me and Ariel Levy, who's another Florida guy, took on George Joel and Rohit Raju. So 4 AEW episodes of Dark before the unfortunate cancellation of Dark and Elevation.
Yeah, that last episode you were on, Ariel Levy, a friend to the channel. He is the CCW champion, the champ that we all deserve, as from his words,
Sure.
from his words. Was it that big of a you think a detriment that now AEW Dark is gone for like indie wrestlers that are looking to get maybe some new eyes on them? Is that platform, do you think it's going to hurt a lot of indie guys now?
I think that the game just changes again. Like before COVID, Dark and Dark Elevation didn't even exist. There was no such platform for independent wrestlers to get a little extra shine on them, or wrestle somebody who was at the level that you're trying to get at. And maybe those opportunities don't come as frequently now because of the absence of Dark and Elevation, but it doesn't mean that they don't exist. Like they're still doing it with Ring of Honor. All it means is that those spots are now more limited than ever, which means that you got to be at your A game. You got to maintain the relationships that you build when you are able to go, whether it be at AEW or other places where you're coming across talent like that. I can tell you now, I specifically had the opportunity to wrestle Peter Avalon in the Wingmen because of a show in Brooklyn that I was at Catalyst Wrestling, that Avalon was on the show. And what happens after shows at wrestling, sometimes you eat together, you play pool together, you get to know people. And I was on Dark. I just happened to be able to go to Dark the next week, and I saw Avalon, and Avalon asked for me specifically. That happens because of the relationships that you build outside of the ring as well. So even though those opportunities are amazing to go to Dark and Dark Elevation and whatever tapings, and it's a nice payday, I'm not going to lie to you. I love those. I miss that every month. But at the end of the day, it's like, it just makes me that much hungrier because now the opportunities are scarce again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I completely understand. And now I'm going to be completely honest. I definitely think you're one of the major talents, okay, out and on the indie circuit that's ready to break out.
All right.
No. I'm being serious. I love watching your matches. You've got great attitude, whether you're
Thank you.
jumping off a ladder or super kicking a girl or whatever you got to do,
Oh, no.
You get the
I do it
job
far
done.
more often than maybe I want to or have to, but sometimes I gotta get it done.
Yeah. No, with that being said, I feel like, you're definitely main eventer on the indie circuit. Is it hard when you go to something like AEW Dark or a major promotion, to work as an enhancement talent, so to speak?
No.
No.
Easy question, easy answer. The answer is no. I learned really early, and I'm lucky that I learned it early, that wrestling is a variety show. It's like Saturday Night Live. A, there's something for everyone. And B, every sketch has a star. It's not always the same guy. You have to fill a role, and that's wrestling is best when everyone fits a role, when there's someone for everybody, when there's something for everybody. And if I'm an enhancement talent at AEW or even at WWE or Ring of Honor or whatever that role is, if I'm an enhancement talent, my job is, okay, I'm probably going to have one spot, one moment to get some offense in. I'm going to make it look as good as I can. And then the rest of that match is make sure that star looks like a star, that I don't look out of place in the ring getting beat up by that guy. So I know one specific example where I had the most recent tag team opportunity I had with AEW Dark. It was me and Aaron Levy against Rohi Raju and George Joel. And I had one moment, right? It's get in the ring, hit him, get suplex, do a backflip, hit him one more time, and then I'm taking move. Just those little moments of like throwing a couple strikes and doing a backflip. I got to make them look as best as I can because I know that's my one moment, right? Ego death. Ego death when you're getting into an opportunity like that. You will have your moment if you do those things right. That's how I feel. I entirely believe that if you work hard enough and if you continue to be in front of the right people at the right places and shake the right hands while working hard, then you'll get to that platform for yourself. So until then, do what you got to do and do the best that you can at it.
Very well put, and I appreciate the professionalism and the honesty in that answer. Because from a wrestler standpoint, it's definitely different from a fan standpoint, like myself. Because when I see you guys, I see guys like the Crown and certain people on there. I'm like, I get to see you guys really show off what you can do, and I'm like, man, why can't Jarett Diaz do this? Why?
I wish you
Like,
could do more. For
yeah, of
sure.
course.
For
From a
sure.
fan
You want
standpoint,
those
we're always
moments,
rooting
right?
for you guys. Yes.
Yeah. And no, and we appreciate it. And we acknowledge that, like, all right, this is not a regular situation. Like I have a match upcoming with Rich Swann, who is the former Impact World Champion and currently CZW World Champion. I'm wrestling him for the CZW World title in the main event of a CZW show, which is a show I've always wanted to be on since I even came across independent wrestling when I was a kid. Like that's a platform, that's a moment, but that's also a different situation. That's a situation where I'm, at least on that night, is equal, and I have to present myself as such. But that's a guy who's been the cruiserweight champion of the world. He's been the world champion at Impact, who, under a different light, I'm a jobber. He's a superstar. But on this platform, we have to be equals and I have to present myself as such. Like I said, it's all about it's just a different sketch on a different week of SNL.
Very well put. When is that match coming out? I
That's the
know
best way that I can put that.
I saw you post a flyer. When is that match coming
Yes,
up?
so that is July 1st at Havre de Grace, Maryland, at the State Theater. I'm incredibly excited. You know, as a Florida guy, that a lot of talent, a lot of wrestlers from throughout the country, from every promotion, they live down in Florida. And Jason Cade, who's a second cousin and a mentor of mine when I first started in this, is tight with Swann. Swann's one of the first people I met on this climb up on my beginning, my orientation of pro wrestling. So I was able to be, I guess, a friend or a mentee to some degree of Rich Swann, and now I get to wrestle him on a platform that I've always wanted to be at. And win, lose, or draw, it's an opportunity to learn, to get better, and to show everyone else who might be watching that I'm at that level.
That's going to be a killer match. I love your two styles clashing in the ring. That's
Yeah,
definitely going to
I'm
be
excited about it. I'm
an
excited about it.
exciting match to catch. If it was only in Florida, it would be
I'm
fantastic. Even more
sorry.
fantastic. It'd be more fantastic. Now, speaking of being sorry, okay, the last time we talked, I asked you about your inspirations. You mentioned Tom Brady as your major inspiration. He's retired now. What
Yeah,
do
I
you think
did.
about his retirement and his overall career now that he's hung up the cleats?
You know, it's bittersweet as a fan, as a football fan, as a quarterback, because I love watching the guy, but at least last season he just was not himself. He was not the Tom Brady I'm used to seeing, and even Tom Brady at a lower level is still better than a lot of quarterbacks, but he's not the 48 touchdowns, 11 interceptions that I'm expecting. It just wasn't that anymore. If I'm being completely honest, in my heart of hearts, I wish he'd retired once he won the Super Bowl with Tampa and proved his point and then bounced. But he still had a couple good years left in him. He played him out. His whole life seems to be collapsing under him, but I don't know about that on a personal level.
Right.
But now I look forward to watching new great quarterbacks. Like I'm a Jets fan. Aaron Rodgers just stepped in the building, and for the first time in my life, I'm excited about Aaron Rodgers. I really like Joe Burrow. I love watching Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. You got Herbert, Tua, and Jalen Hurts. Like I obsess over watching the guys at that position. So I'm very, very excited for like now the all-time great is gone and the other greats at that position are starting to go away and we're getting new ones.
Now, as a
Such as
Jets,
sports, just like wrestling.
right? Exactly. Just bring in the new blood and
Yeah.
maybe a new company. Sometimes it just takes somebody to jump ship and get that
Yep.
the fire
New fresh coat of paint.
right, exactly. Now, as a Jets fan, okay, and I'm a Dolphin fan, so obviously we'll never be best friends at a football
Listen, a lot
game.
of respect for my no. Listen, I've been playing a lot of Madden lately, and I've been using Miami. I've been
Okay,
using Miami and Madden a lot lately. I've been winning too because it's mostly Tyreek Hill.
right.
But
You look at the lineup; they
Miami's
should be
nasty. They're a
right,
nasty team. They're a good
right.
team. I got a lot of respect over there.
Okay, so but as a Jets fan, there was also a lot of talk about Brady coming down here and being with the Dolphins. I was like, please don't. Like, not just because I'm not a fan of Tom Brady, but because obviously you can see the fire's not in his eyes, right? At this point
Yeah.
in his career.
Yeah, it was different. It was different.
What do you think about Aaron Rodgers? Do you think because he's kind of like not had that fire in his soul for a little bit in Green
I
Bay? What about
yeah,
now?
I've never been an Aaron Rodgers fan, which is why I say this is the first time I'm actually excited to watch Aaron Rodgers. My initial opinion was I don't want this. But my initial opinion of I don't want this was when Derek Carr was still on the table. Lamar Jackson was still an option. They were younger, potentially free agent or changing team quarterbacks that were on the market. And I thought to myself, like, Aaron Rodgers just got out of the, I guess, anti-vax controversy
Right.
and the peyote and like the dark retreat. And he's never had the best reputation on a personal level. And so I've never been a fan of his. And I'm not going to say I'm a fan of his now. I'm not going to lie to you over here, Tony, but I think that when you talk about the fire in his eyes, I think it's different because Tom was tired of Bill and he had already won 7 Super Bowls. Uh, Aaron Rodgers was tired of Green Bay not getting him help to go win more Super Bowls. I think it's a little bit different. So I think that Aaron Rodgers entering a new situation with a coach and an offensive coordinator that he's familiar with actual weapons on either side of him, bringing Alan Lazard over, and Garrett Wilson, the offensive rookie of the year, is no joke. Breece Hall as a running back is no joke, and the offensive line is actually solid. So I'm excited about Aaron Rodgers in New York, even though I don't personally love watching Aaron Rodgers.
Fair assessment.
So I have my doubts. But I'm optimistic.
Okay. That's all you can be, right? Until you actually see, 5, 6 games in.
Yeah, until I see us go 7-10, and then I'm going to be distraught.
right. Like, get him out of town.
Nah, it's okay. The Jets didn't even have to give up too much for him. We didn't mortgage the future, so I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm all right.
Okay. Now, let me talk about the tattoo. You got the tattoo on your chest. The
Let's
S
talk
on the
about the
chest.
Superman tattoo.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So it definitely stands for Superman on the chest.
Yeah, it's a Kryptonian symbol for hope, sir. That's what they say. But so the Superman tattoo has come into conversation a lot more lately as I've gotten to be a part of AEW Dark and such, because of branding and legal things. It's the Punk Pepsi thing. It's
right.
Similar conversations. So the origin, and I'll give you the short version. Basically, my dad got a Superman tattoo when I was like 8 or 9 years old. He got it right below his neck, and as I was exiting high school and I wanted to get a tattoo, and then he got like a major neck surgery, like 30% chance full recovery, could never be the same again potentially. And 3 months later, he was back at work running his gym full time, complete full recovery, borderline miraculous. And in the process of that recovery and finishing that recovery, I decided to get that same matching tattoo.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. It is a symbol of hope.
Now back to the convert. It is. It really is. And in the conversation of it coming up more lately because of the television aspect, it's something that's been presented to me as like, hey, maybe you should cover it up or maybe you should get it removed. And I'm receptive to the idea, and I understand it, like, from a presentation as a company. If I were to get it altered, I would get it removed and have it reapplied somewhere smaller where I can hide it, but still have it be a part of me. But that is not something I'm fully committed to one way or the other just yet anyway.
Okay. Well, at least with
Yeah.
AEW, they're dealing with Warner Brothers, so at least there's that, like, right?
Yeah,
Hopefully,
at the very least, nobody's gonna freak out. They're
right.
paying themselves.
WWE might be a little bit different situation, I
Yeah.
guess, with that, but
But I've always thought to myself, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it.
Mhm.
Tattoo removal is expensive, and it's also an ordeal. So I'd want to make sure that I'd be doing it for the right reasons.
But no matter what, you would keep that symbol somewhere on your body, no
I
matter
would
what,
I would
though.
get it re-tattooed in the event that I were to get it removed. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. What would you say is the biggest lesson that you've learned about yourself in these 4 years that you've been a professional wrestler?
Oh man, the biggest lesson I learned about myself is probably a lesson of persistence. I never thought, truly, if I'm being completely honest with you, Tony, and I'll be honest with anybody on the subject, but like there was enough self doubt when I left football that I would ever do anything of importance or anything that I felt was important. I felt to some degree like a failure, like I had failed at playing football through college and I didn't get to the level of success that I wanted to. And it's not even about the NFL, just like I didn't even play 4 years of college football, which was the goal coming out of, middle school and into high school. That was what was on my mind. So because I didn't do that, I had my self doubts, and I had a long, hard conversation with myself about if I wrestle, if I really pursue this thing, I have to ride it all the way through until I can't or until I make it. And then that's a whole new journey of once I get to the place that I want to be at, now what? So that's, I sort of identify it as like, here's the independent journey. And when the independent journey at least pauses, if not ends, professional, proper contracted journey. And those are two different things, right? So the lesson of resiliency comes when the pandemic hits. And I say to myself, all right, well, I've got this college degree now. Do I just focus on working with my degree or do I take however long we all have to take off and then start wrestling again? And I had a match during the pandemic at a closed set event with Punk Pro Wrestling in July of 2020, I want to say. So it was only a few months after the initial lockdown where we were doing basically secret shows. And I had two matches that day, and I got back in the car and I drove 17 hours back home to New York. And I thought to myself, all right, I'm done. I've had my couple matches that I wanted to like end on a high note with my best friends, and I'm done now. And 2 months go by, and I'm like, I'm not fucking done. I love this. I hate that I even had the thought because that was the only real break that I ever took apart from my appendix exploding. So it's a story of resilience in that I've had opportunities to just choose to stop, to walk away, whether they be good reasons or otherwise, right? Minor injuries could tell anybody who doesn't love this to just stop. A pandemic that forces everyone to stop. Some people didn't come back. And I'm now in a position where I find myself wrestling at places that some people dream of being. Why stop now? So it's resiliency. Just keep going.
Yeah, I have seen many people. I mean, I'm sure it's happened in all works of life, but like wrestlers down here that were starting to get a little hot, maybe had some championships, and obviously the pandemic shut everything down. And some of those people have never returned. I mean,
It's a massive challenge, and I don't blame anybody for doing it because it's incredibly difficult to like just power through whatever life things or world event things that are happening. Just power through it. And I almost got caught up in it myself, so I'm really glad that I was able to just keep going.
well, let's get off the gloom and doom because we're not here for that, right?
It's all part of it, Tony.
It's all
It's
part
all
of the
part of the
experience,
journey and the roller coaster. Yeah,
right? I kind
you
of want to
learn
know.
lessons out of it.
I kind of want to know about, like, okay, obviously, you talked about high school and you want to be a professional football player, get up to that college level, and maybe get into bigger and better things. But as a wrestling fan, like I believe you said Matt Sydal was your favorite wrestler, or who was your biggest
One of
influence? One
definitely
of your biggest
in
influence.
terms of like influences growing up. Yeah, I just wanted to do shooting stars and like learn how to bounce how he bounced. And I've still yet to learn a shooting star press, but I want to. I really want to.
But I want to know kind of like, okay, like me growing up as a young wrestling fan, there was like me and one other dude, right? That like wrestling, like in school.
Mhm.
What was
Yeah.
your experience like as a wrestling fan and a youngster growing up?
Um, lonely, lonely. I not lonely because I didn't have friends. I had friends. They just weren't wrestling fans. They weren't into at least as much as I was. Like when I so okay, so I tell the story of when I first got into wrestling. It was a classmate that was playing SmackDown versus Raw on his PSP, and I was shown by a classmate what WWE like really was for the first time. But then as we get older and as the kids start to age up, they start to age out. You learn that wrestling isn't exactly, on the up and up, and they stop watching. And that's when I fell in love with it even more. That's when I realized that it's a job, it's something that someone could learn, which makes it attainable. And yeah, there were some years there where like I just wouldn't talk about it out loud because I didn't know if anybody watched or still watched or whatever, right? And occasionally I'd wear like a wrestling t-shirt and it would get attention or it wouldn't. And I didn't really care about that either way because it was just a thing that I loved to do. But it was like I was still a football player. I still had like football player friends and would hang out with people outside of school to play sports and that sort of lifestyle. It wasn't until I was in 10th grade and I had to go to summer school because um I was intelligent, but I wasn't a good student. I just didn't do homework. And for all of the young people listening, just do your homework. It's so easy. Just sit down and do it. That was my biggest problem is I just didn't want to sit down and do it. So I had to go to summer school one summer,
For the
and I was
GPA,
coming
right?
out
To
of
play football, right?
yeah to fix the GPA so that I could make sure that I'd be eligible for varsity football. So,
Happened to yeah, 11th grade. Me too. Me too. Same thing. Same thing. Yes. Stupid,
but I
right?
will tell you, it no man, it was the I don't want to advocate for summer school, but it was like such a formative moment in my life because the summer school teacher of English was an assistant football coach. I already knew him, had a rapport with him, but he wasn't I wasn't close with him. He was the varsity coach. I just come off JV. So I knew him, he knew me. He's teaching assistant and he learned that I liked wrestling. So he comes into summer classes one day and says, "Hey, I used to be a writer for SmackDown and ECW." I was for a minute there, I was like Paul Heyman's right hand man. And I'm like, yo, are you serious? Like, that's amazing. That's like, how do you do that? And I like, and he goes, after class, I'll talk to you more about it. So class is over. It's only like an hour and a half session because it's just one summer class. And he brings me over to his computer and he has this old USB flash drive and he plugs it in. And it's like a folder full of like 30 SmackDown scripts, shows that this man had on a backup hard drive, just layered and layered of like all of the show rundowns, right? Like, all right, we're starting with an opening promo, and then we go to match one, and then match two, and I got to see what wrestling looked like in real life, basically, from a backstage perspective, from a television perspective, however you want to verbalize that. I got to see that okay, there is a reality for me where I work in wrestling, and that doesn't mean it has to be in the ring either. It just made it that much more attainable for me. So that's how when I got to go to college and I got to know that, like, all right, when I get my degree, I'm going to get into sports broadcasting. And Full Sail University has a program working with WWE. So I'll go there. Once I left football, that's where I went to school. And I got to work hands on at the Performance Center as an intern, broadcasting. And it made all of that real with that moment in summer school. So even though I wasn't the most vocal wrestling fan growing up, and it wasn't a huge part of like my life other than when I would go home and watch it every damn day. It was school that made it real to me that I could live in this business.
Wow, what a crazy ass story, right?
It's amazing, and I'm so grateful for that guy, that coach. I still keep in touch with him. He still, you know, checks up on me and what I'm doing in the business and like what shows I'm on and stuff. And it's great because every time I talk to him, I just remind him how grateful I am for that moment. It's really cool.
We're told that like people come into our lives or are placed in the universe, right, for
Oh,
certain
at
reasons.
just at the right times,
And like
at the right
obviously,
times.
like you said you went to summer school, right? And you weren't wasn't because you couldn't get it. It was just because, you know, I'm sorry, high school sucked.
Effort,
It was
laziness.
boring,
Yeah,
lazy, like I had the same thing. I had a what was it 1.25 or something. I couldn't play unless I went to summer school for world history.
yeah.
And I'm like, now I love world history and I love everything,
And
right?
I love English and I love reading and writing.
Right.
I just wasn't doing the work, and I
Right.
could have so easily. So that's my my one mistake that turned out to be an amazing opportunity.
Hmm.
Yeah.
With all these matches that you've had, has there been like one opponent that you've come across just every time, maybe you get booked on the show, you're like, us again. Not in a bad way,
Yes.
but just like
I would say yeah. So a guy that I've come across recently, or not so much recently, but in the last couple of years since I moved to New York and been able to wrestle in the Northeast, dude Kylon King. And I don't know if you are aware of Kylon, but he tags with Dustin Flash Waller. They're known as Miracle Generation. They've been able to do some really cool stuff lately. They've been doing Black Label Pro, and I think the IWTV Tag Champions or Beyond Tag Champions, something like that. They're very talented, right? Flash, I've been on a bunch of shows with, a bunch, but I've never wrestled him. Kylon, though, he was the first person I ever wrestled in a singles match for main event, for like a main event show. Let me rephrase that. He's the first person I ever wrestled in a main event singles match. And it was like too easy, too fast. The dude and I have chemistry in the ring. And that's great because we've wrestled like half a dozen times since then. Which if you're not in the business, it maybe doesn't sound like that many times. But for all the shows and all the matchups that could exist, the fact that I've wrestled this dude like 6 to 10 times in the last 2 years, it's a good amount of times. And every time we wrestle, it's just easy. He knows my stuff. I know his stuff. Uh, we know that we're both in condition and strong enough to do all the things that we want to do. There's a lot of trust there. So, and I would say if you're listening to the pod, or if you're you, Tony specifically, if you haven't seen Kai's stuff, Kylon King, who's no joke. Not Kylin King,
no,
Kylon King.
right, yeah. We all know the mother
We all know
effing
Kylan.
king.
She's a
Yeah,
superstar.
yeah.
So
Love Kylan, huge fan of hers
she's
as well.
great.
So
She's
yeah.
fantastic.
Now, you don't have to mention any names, but you said, you've been in with guys that you trust, guys that you can work with. Has there ever been a situation where you were put into a match and you were like, I don't know if I should be wrestling this person?
Yeah, I've been in a couple situations like that, and you know, I've been in situations where I'm the person that they don't know, and they don't know who I am or what I'm about, and maybe they don't fully trust me yet, and that's okay. Like I don't take it personally. So when the opposite happens, I don't take it personally. So all I have to do is get in the ring and show them what I can do, and then there is trust going forward, right? So when the opposite happens, I try to extend that same courtesy, that same like level of respect or benefit of the doubt or whatever it may be, right? Like if I'm familiar with somebody's work and I just don't believe in it for whatever reason, like I know who they are and they can't really go, maybe they shouldn't be in the ring with me, then all I'm going to do is dictate the match control wise as best as I can to make sure that I'm going to be safe and that they're going to be safe and that we can both do what we've agreed to do. Not trying to pull the curtain back too much, but we've agreed to do this. And the idea is to put on a good show, but more importantly is to get home to your family healthy, to get home to whoever's waiting for you healthy. So like, yeah, I want to have banger matches every night, right? I'm gonna wrestle Swann and I want to go bola all over everybody's asses. Like I want to go have a killer match, but sometimes you just have to make less feel like more. Sometimes you have to know like this wrestler, I can. I can name names. I can name names because this person specifically knows that there's a lot of trust there, but the experience level there's a big gap, right? Her name is Zayda, and she is only a year or less in, and she's talented, and she's still learning. So when me and Zayda are going to have a singles match, and she knows that her skill set or her move set may be limited, it becomes my job as the person who's more experienced, who's stronger, more athletic, to make sure that everything she does looks important, looks impactful, and gets something out of the crowd, whatever that may be that we're looking for. So I don't worry about it too much when I know that somebody maybe isn't as skilled or isn't as talented or isn't as experienced, because it then becomes my job to make sure we can make it work anyway. And I take a lot of pride in that because I want to be one of the best at this. I want to be the best independent wrestler on the planet. And I want to get signed, and I want to wrestle at a level where even at the WWE level, whether it be in NXT or otherwise, there are people who've been wrestling for 6 months coming out of being a college track star. And there's Grayson Wallers, who all they've done is wrestle since they're like 16. Like, you have to be able to do it at every level. So I don't think it's any different at the independents. If you take pride in your work, you can do your best to make everybody look good.
Now, speaking of family, I know we talked about your mom last time and her having a hard time watching
She's
your
a good
shows.
lady, but she struggles.
Has anything changed in the 2.5 years?
No,
No.
not even a little bit. I had a show most recently that she was able to watch. I had a show on my birthday back in March here in the Bronx in New York. It was a mixed tag team match, me and Skye Blue against Lucas Chase and Ruthless Lala, right? And Chase and Lala, two big folks, and it was beating me up a little bit. So I'm there, I'm wrestling. It's my birthday. It's a big day. One of my friends came, actually the person whose apartment I'm in right now. She brought all of our other friends, and there was like a surprise that everybody was going to be there for my birthday, and that was really cool. So I have my friends, who have never seen me wrestle before, getting all excited, and my dad, who's seen a bunch of shows, is like, he's casual, he's loosening up, he's getting into the show. And then you see my mom just watching through her eyes, can't barely watch me taking big bumps and clotheslines and all that. She struggles with it. She's a good lady for coming to the show and like doing her best. But even my grandmother, my mom's mom, used to watch wrestling when she was a little girl, because in Puerto Rico, her mom was very into the Colognes, the Cologne wrestling show. And people would, whether it be Jack Veneno from Dominican Republic or like Ric Flair, Roddy Piper, like people would come into Puerto Rico through the territory. My great grandmother would watch every like Saturday night. So my grandmother, she was cool. She was chilling watching my match, but my mom was uncomfortable. And it doesn't get any more rich just putting a match on and sitting right next to her, and she's still wincing knowing I'm perfectly fine sitting right next to her.
Even though she knows that the match is over, it's already been
right.
happened.
The match already happened like a month ago. I'm sitting right next to you, and it doesn't matter. She's uncomfortable.
Now you mentioned,
but look, at the same time, she's proud of me. She's excited that I'm living the dream and I'm chasing it. And she's supportive. She just can't watch all the time.
Hey, your mom's baby boy. Whoa, they're supposed
exactly,
to be like that, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Now you mentioned tagging with Skye Blue, somebody I've had on the channel. She's actually the most popular interview I have here on the channel.
I don't doubt it.
On the channel. What was it like teaming with Skye, who's doing like, she just kind of like, that's a real great independent wrestling, I think, success story, as somebody who kind of wasn't known, made a huge name for herself really quick, and now on TV on a regular basis.
She's finally got the All Elite graphic a couple months ago, and I'm super proud of her. At the time, and for a brief time, we were in a relationship, and we were able to grow and travel together. And like, even though that's over, like I got nothing but like rooting for her. She's so dope. I'm so excited to see her continue to grow and succeed on a mainstream platform. On Wednesday, as of recording, she has a title match against Toni Storm, who's also incredible. So I'm it was a great opportunity. It was a great experience to travel with her, to learn around her, to tag with her on my birthday. It was a very special day. So I got nothing but love over there, and it's just great. So I'm glad you got a chance to interview her. I don't doubt it was the most popular. Nothing but props for that one.
Now, what's in the future for Jarett Diaz?
What a great question. What's in the future for Jarett Diaz? The future for Jarett Diaz is up for interpretation, but if it's up to me, I want to scratch more names off my list. I've been very lucky to have opportunities to wrestle a JT Gunn, a Jordan Oliver, Rob Martyr, who's one of our Florida people. Like, there are names on my list that this year I've been able to scratch a few off. I'm gonna scratch a few more. I'm looking at you, Rich Swann, in a couple weeks. I'm looking at Anthony Green. I want to wrestle Chris Bay. Like, there's a lot of names that, whether I have a history with this person or to some degree I've been able to look up to this person, I want to scratch those names off. There are places I still want to wrestle at. I got to wrestle at Revolver this year. I got to wrestle at WXW in Germany last fall. Beyond as well, and CZW, which has always been a goal, and Chaotic as well. Like, I wanna train back at the LA dojo in New Japan. I want to do that. I want to go overseas again, maybe to England, maybe even to Japan. Like, there are a lot of things that I want to do in this business, and obviously the main goal for me from when I began is to sign a contract and wrestle on television. I've been, and I'm going to tell you this because we've had a conversation before. I've been sort of manifesting I guess a phrase that's been in my head all year. And it's 2023 is the come up. 2024, pen to paper. I want to sign a contract wrestling next year. And I'm not talking about it all the time. It's not like it's something I'm saying every day, but it's something that's in my head always, because as I continue to grow and get better and build connections in this industry, I am approaching what I feel is TV level. And others could have their opinions and disagree with me, and that's fine. Wrestling is art, and it is always open for interpretation. But I believe that in the next year and a half, I can sign a contract, I can wrestle on television in some capacity.
I was going through my old interviews. I try to, with these Zoom calls, obviously reach out to people across the country who I don't have an opportunity to interview, because coming down to Florida, that's, if you're not down here,
of course,
you're busy. But I've gone through some of my old interviews, and I was looking through, and I'm like, okay, who do I need to talk to? And I'm like, I need to talk to Jarett Diaz, because if anybody is on the rise of, there's very few people that I've talked to that I really feel like, not only are you going to be TV ready, my friend, you are TV ready, in my personal opinion, right now. But I just felt like, I was like,
I appreciate that.
It's been 2 years, and like, I want to catch up with you, see where your journey has taken you. Because I know at one point I'm going to have to go through an agent or
some sort
a
of
big
PR
company.
team.
Yes, I'm going to have to go through 8 emails. I've had to do that already with a couple people already, and go through the hoops to sit down with you. But I wanted to show my love and respect
may be
for you.
And I'm not. Maybe I won't always. Thank you, Tony. I really appreciate that. And that may be so. I may not always be able to give you the go ahead right away, but I will always make time for you, sir, because you've been fantastic to me. You've been nothing but supportive, and I appreciate you really feeling that way about me. And I feel that I'm only scratching the surface here. There's a ton for me to learn. I can never say that I'm done. I can never say that I'm done getting better, because I'll never be a finished product. But I'm ready to take steps up, and I feel that I've been on that journey for a long time, and I'm getting close. I really feel that.
Now, traveling from city to city, I'm sure you get excited every time you go to a new town or something like that. But you said you went to Germany, okay?
I did.
Like just going on vacation, right? I think would be awesome going to Germany. But the fact that you get to take your craft, take your skill, everything that you're working for, and be invited to another country to perform. I mean, what goes through your head first when you see the email or the phone call, but then when you land to do that?
Man. So I've been able to I don't know, man, talk my way into these opportunities because they're up for grabs. Like Revolver, for example, I got to be a part of a match with Speedball Mike Bailey, who is undoubtedly one of the best wrestlers in the world, independent, signed, TV, whatever, doesn't matter. He's one of the best. And it was basically an open challenge on Twitter, cut a promo and say why you should get in the ring with Speedball Mike Bailey. And I did that, and he saw it. And then I did it again, and he accepted it. And I wrestled Speedball Mike Bailey at Wrestling Revolver. Why does that happen? Because I put myself out there and talked, right?
Persistence.
So back so back up about 6 months, and an opportunity to wrestle for WXW Germany comes up via Twitter. It's an open invitation. Anyone can sign up. Here's an email address. Send your stuff and tell us why you'd like to wrestle for WXW Germany. And I send my stuff. And I, a few months prior, had met Axel, otherwise known as The Rotation, who was an assistant trainer at WXW, and he was competing for the first Full Tilt weekend in Las Vegas for Double or Nothing weekend. So I met him in Vegas. We networked, we connected. I did my thing, he did his thing, and we went our separate ways. But I knew that if I ever want to go to WXW, if I ever want to go to Germany, that's one of the guys I got to get in touch with. So I see this thing pop up on Twitter, and I send my stuff in. And then I hit Axel on Twitter. I say, hey, Rotation, just sent my stuff in for this tweet. And I linked in the tweet. And I said, let me know if there's anything else I can do or somebody else that I should be talking to. Because I know closed mouths don't get fed. So I see this thing on Twitter. I reach out. I send my stuff out. They call DJ Hyde, who runs CZW. Because DJ, who's just sent like a dozen wrestlers from our roster at CZW out for a European excursion through WXW. How does that door open? By DJ's doing a dozen or two Germany trips throughout the 2000s, and that door reopens for me. I get in touch with WXW, and I really want to do their stuff. Who do they call for a character reference? That guy, DJ Hyde. DJ puts me over, and they invite me over. I wrestled men like Darius, who is a British wrestler on the up and up, doing stuff at Progress and 5 Star and other places. And Eli Isom, who's an American wrestler who was one of the, I want to say, 9 American wrestlers over there, along with a Steve Pena, JD Newman from Tennessee, O'Shea Edwards, Masha Slamovich, and Akira, a few American wrestlers. And I looked at that opportunity and I was like, all right, I'm going to go to Germany. I'm going to go wrestle overseas. I've never even wrestled out of the country, but I'm going to go do this thing. I wrestled in front of like 600 people at a WXW crowd, at a WXW show as a part of the World Tag League weekend festival thing, which is huge for them. So I looked at that as just an opportunity to get better. And I did, because as soon as I had the match, I came right back to the back, and there's Speedball Mike Bailey watching everything, giving feedback to whoever wants it. And I walk right up to Speedball and I say, hey, Speedball, we met back in Vegas. I don't know if you remember. If you have anything for me on that match. And he just goes, bah, 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 bah. Here's what's good. Here's what's bad. Here's what I liked. Here's what can get better. Very, very generous with his time. And I've been very fortunate to meet a lot of good wrestlers over the years who are very generous with their time if you just ask them for it. So Speedball gives me all this great advice, and I'm like, Speedball, you're the man. Thank you. And he goes, if you ever need anything, reach out. Fast forward, Revolver opportunity comes up. I shoot my promos on Speedball. I shoot him a message. Hey, man, I really want that opportunity. I hear from Sami Callihan via Twitter. Hey, man, spoke with DJ. He spoke highly of you. How quickly can you get to Ohio? Because that's another opportunity that, if you know DJ Hyde, you call him for a character reference. He put me over, and I have the match. I'm not going to say it's all about who you know, because I don't just know these people. I'm performing for these people. I'm doing my thing in front of these people, and I'm earning their trust by way of my persistence, coachability, and talent. So That's how I look at these opportunities. I know that was very long-winded for a question that was just about traveling overseas, but like it's a full picture story.
I'm not going to give you a long-winded statement, and I don't like to curse here on the channel, but I'm going to say I fucking love what you're doing as far as like just making sure you go and get it. You know, so many people sit back and they think, why not me? Why not me? Well, you're not putting yourself out there. You're not doing the legwork. Yes, so important for to know people, right? But you can know people, and doesn't mean that they believe in you as well, too, to bring you into the big venue.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I not to dip too far back, but when I was in high school and I wanted to play college football somewhere, I played in New York City. Football barely counts here. So I knew if I wanted to get college's attention, I'd have to go to them. I took trips to Maryland, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Indiana, Texas, Florida, Georgia. I had to go get their attention because no one is going to come find me. Nobody's going to come find you in this business. Even a guy like Austin Theory, who was basically heralded as the next big thing when he was 18, he had to go to AR Fox's school in Georgia and do his thing. And then he had to travel down to Florida to evolve to make sure Sapolsky saw him. And then from there, it starts to move. But the point is, like, if you don't get it, if you don't make sure somebody sees you, nobody's looking. Nobody's looking.
With all the travel and the shows and everything, like, what's your secret to like making sure that you don't forget anything, that keep everything like all lined up in order?
I am a forgetful person, so I write everything down. I have not only do I have my phone, which has a schedule in it, but I double down by physically writing it down. I have a like a little slanted whiteboard that sits on my desk at my home in my apartment, and I write down. I have a couple of brackets, right? It's like here's a to-do list. Here is a list of like meetings or things I have to go to, and then here are my wrestling dates. And I write them down as quickly as I can once they come in, whether they be, hey, you're needed last minute in a week, or hey, here's a booking 4 months from now. I write it down, and then when I'm done with that booking, erase it. So it's the literal act of writing things down and then doubling down with the phone calendar to make sure I don't miss nothing. And I'm not perfect. Everybody misses stuff. I had a podcast a few months ago, I want to say 2 months ago, that I had to reschedule it because something had come up that was unrelated and I didn't forget. Then I rescheduled it to the next day and then I forgot because I didn't write down the reschedule. And then we had to meet the whole next week. Like mistakes happen. And honestly, I've been very grateful that people have been patient when something like that does happen, but just trying to stay up on top of it as best you can. I've been very adamant about having a work-life balance. So even if it's like a friend of mine who's a DJ has a set that she wants friends to come to, I write that down. That's in my to-do or in my meetings. If a cousin of mine has a basketball game, I'm writing it down. Fill up my schedule because I don't even like free time. I like filling up the schedule, but I got to make sure I write it all down or else I will lose it.
And kind of that old school way. I agree. It's like I think I'm lucky because like in my mind, like I'm able to like remember, okay, I've got Jarett Diaz Wednesday at 8:30, but there are certain things. It's just like I think outside of like my podcasting world and my wrestling world, I have to write all that stuff down and detail notes.
It's a
and
skill
everything.
in itself
This
to
is like
be
the
able
only
to
thing I can
remember
keep
stuff like
here.
that. That's a skill in itself. Props to you, but it's harder to forget stuff you really care about. And I know you care about this podcast and you have for a long time. And I know that because I keep up. Like, I don't forget wrestling bookings. I forget everything else.
Right. Now, what goes through your mind? I mean, you obviously do a lot of great technical work in the ring, but when you do something kind of depth defying, when you know you're going to run and leap over a top rope or come off a ladder or do something crazy like that,
Yeah.
is there anything that goes through your mind, or you just say, go for it?
I tell myself that if I die, it's okay, which is not something that people should say, but That's actually crazy now that I'm saying it out loud.
I'm not going to clip
But
that for your mom to hear, by the way. Like that
no,
won't
no,
make the
no,
clips.
please
That won't make the clips.
don't. Don't clip that out. No, all right. So perfect example for you. I have a ladder match with like 6 other competitors at XWA in Rhode Island last fall. I think last fall. Yeah, September 22. So I have this idea. I saw it at NXT Takeover New Orleans, where it was the first North American title, and Ricochet's halfway up, and then here comes friggin' I think Killian Dane, and he's tipping the ladder over, and then Ricochet does a moonsault off of the ladder out onto the field of whoever was left. And I was like, I want to do that. So I'm thinking about it on the car drive up to Rhode Island. It's like a 3-hour drive. I'm with Richard King, and we're talking, and I'm like, I want to do this spot. He goes, okay, well, do it. He doesn't care if I do something crazy. Best friend doesn't care about me. So I'm driving up there, and then we get there, and I, get stretched out or whatever. We're talking about the match beforehand. I'm talking about it with the other guys, and he's one of them in the match. And so I'm like, I really have this spot. It's like this one thing that I really want to do today. I don't care about the finish. I don't care who's up. I just want to get this one moment that I feel compelled to do. And I have to sugarcoat it because the promoter doesn't want me to do it. So I'm halfway up the ladder, and I start talking it out. And then so I'm halfway up the ladder while I'm talking to the promoter who's on the ground. And I'm like, yeah. And then I'm going to turn and do a cross body onto everybody. I'm going to step on the rope first for safety, and then I'm going to go do the thing. I didn't tell him the reality of the spot, but I told everybody who was going to catch me because they can't not be in the know. But the promoter, I didn't tell him. So we get to the spot. It's a super kick to Juan Vargas, knee to the back of the head. I set up the ladder, and I'm going, and I'm going, and I'm going. I'm like, all right, here it comes. I'm going to do this thing. And Vargas comes around, and he's going to tip over. He's like the monster in the match, so he's going to tip over the ladder onto everybody else. And I'm up there. I'm as high as I'm willing to go for this spot. And I'm looking back, and I'm like, oh, man, I could bail out right now. No, I'm going to go. I don't care. And I go, and I send it to my dad. As soon as I get that footage, I send it to my dad, and he's like livid with me because it's one of those moments where even if you do your job right, they could just not catch you right. Instant injury at the very least. So I don't regret it because it was a moment where I thought to myself, all right, I could die right now. Flip. I love that. The first time I ever saw wrestling live on TV was Jeff Hardy doing a suicide dive. I'm not going to say I'm super influenced by Jeff Hardy, but I am willing to take risks because it is what made me fall in love with this instantaneously. And I don't care.
I was going to say, you kind of
I'm
have
willing.
to have a part of you that doesn't care, I would assume, because you can't be that guy forever known on YouTube as the guy that climbed down the ladder and decided not to do it, right?
Exactly. Once you're up there, there is no fully bailing on this. And if you try to, halfway do it, you're more likely to get hurt then. If I chicken out, I'll catch my head on the rope or something and fall awkwardly on the apron or on the floor. If I don't full send it, I could really get hurt worse. So what goes through my head? Fearlessness, an ignorant invincibility.
You're a braver man than I will ever be, my friend.
Look, man, I don't encourage anybody to do what I do, but I love to do it.
Yeah, there has to be a special. You just have to be born with it. I think. I don't think it's not something that is coached or learned, right?
I will say my dad's not too dissimilar. I've seen him do cliff dives that he shouldn't do, and I take after him, I guess.
Okay. Is there anything else we should know, Jarett? What's going on with you?
Yeah, I want to go skydiving someday.
Okay.
That's not really like in a wrestling thing. That's
cool.
To do with the thing we're talking about. Yeah, I want to do a skydive. Less so more so than a bungee jump. I don't really want to do a bungee jump. I want to do a skydive.
I feel like
But
skydiving is much safer than a bungee jump, though, right?
I think you're gonna, risk death either way. But at least skydiving would be instantaneous death. I think a bungee jump could be a little different. I don't know, but what's going on with me? What's going on with me? Great question. I have a junior championship defense against Kenny Bengal this weekend at New Age Wrestling in Springfield, Massachusetts. I've got the opportunity to wrestle Rich Swann, which is something I've spoken about. It's super exciting for me. July 1st at Havre de Grace in the State Theater in Maryland. And other than that, I'm going back to Vegas for FSW. I'm wrestling in Denver, Colorado for the first time for a company called One Revolution Wrestling. More opportunities with Chaotic. I'd love to go back down to Florida at some point because I love it there and I miss it. My friends live there. And on the whole, just more dream chasing, more thirst traps on Twitter, more fun. I have fun. I love what I do, man. I can't stress that enough.
You're doing a fantastic job. Keep up the thirst traps. Keep up
I have fun.
That's what life's all about, right? We went through a couple years of BS with this.
Who couldn't go with a little bit of external validation in these trying times,
Right, exactly. Well, Jarett, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, and I'm glad. I love the in-person interviews because we can vibe off each other and talk whatever. But at the shows, sometimes it's 10 minutes. You got to get ready, and you have to cut it short.
Yeah, I was disappointed that we didn't get to talk as long as we could have last time because I was enjoying the conversation. So this was in my opinion, and you can feel how you feel about this. This was a much better conversation, sir. You got 100%. A chance to really get to know me and vice versa.
100%. It is. It's like you get your opponents going. Got to get ready, or a manager or so. The promoter, or somebody saying, "Hey, wrap it up. You got to go. You got to get ready for your show." It's a great. I love doing the in-person interviews, but like the podcast really get us some time to like really, really just shoot the shit essentially, and catch up and
absolutely, And hey, like I said it before, I'm gonna say it again: contract and no contract, I will always make the time to have a chat with you. You just might have to go through some people first, but we'll do it anytime.
We'll make it happen for sure. Well, Jarett Diaz, thank you so much. Where can people follow you on this awesome journey that you're on?
Oh man, so if you see my name down there, it's Jarett Diaz, spelled as such. The Jarett Diaz on Instagram, the Jarett Diaz on Twitter, and at Jarett Diaz on TikTok. I don't make a bunch of TikToks, but TikTok's fun, so you can find me there too. You can catch me all over the indies until I'm not there anymore.
That's for sure. And Jarett Diaz has been under your name this entire interview anyway. So
fantastic.
It's just, if you haven't caught on already, ladies and gentlemen, it's right there, or it's under his name right there. Yes. Somewhere. It's plain and simple, right? Well, Jarett, keep up the great work, my friend. You're doing great stuff. It was great to catch up with you.
Tony, you're the best, man. Thank you so much for having me. Yo, shout out to the podcast. Keep killing it. Keep enjoying it. Keep loving it. Have fun, because that's what we're all doing on this end. So keep bringing that energy.
No, definitely. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you guys. And guys, if you aren't following Jarett Diaz, please do so. Please check him out if he comes to a show near you, because he's absolutely killing it. And when he gets those bigger promotions, it's going to be a lot harder to get that picture and an autograph and the t-shirts as well, too. So, guys, make sure you go out there and support all the local independent wrestlers. And Jarett, keep up the great work, my friend.
Thank you, Tony.
All right, guys, if you like interviews like this with Jarett Diaz, make sure you hit that red subscribe button so you can stay tuned in here to Tone In Entertainment for future videos. Subscribe to the channel. Do it. Go now. Do it now.